There's a lot of speculation about Quentin Tarantino's next and quite possibly final film titled The Critic. Now, as I'm recording this video, they haven't even shot a frame of film for this movie yet. It's still just in the planning phases, but we're all kind of wondering what it's going to be about. And the common theory seems to be that it's going to be about Pauline Kael, who was a really divisive but polarizing and valuable figure in film criticism. And it made me think of this documentary, which came out a few years back. It's called What She Said, The Arts of Pauline Kael. And I'm specifically bringing up the Tarantino connection because we know he loved Pauline Kael, and he's a contributor to this documentary. There's about 10 minutes of footage of him, including the deleted scenes here, but he really talks about why he connects with Pauline Kael, her true sense. She was an iconoclast. She tore down a lot of barriers, and she just said whatever she thought, whether it was palatable for mass consumption or not. And so as a result, some people liked her. Some people really couldn't stand her. There's a story that's in the documentary about her at a party. She goes up to this director and just dresses him down, just tears him down. Why did you make this? Why did you choose this? And he was so shaken from this confrontation at this party, he stepped away from movies for like 5 years to just kind of reground himself and figure out there was power in the word of a journalist in the 60s and in the 70s, even into the 80s. I think the game started to change with the arrival of Siskel and Ebert, but it sort of popularized movie criticism. But there was a time when a critic's pen held all kinds of power, both good and bad. Because like I said, people hated her. People loved her, but people also hated her. And you never knew what she was going to connect with. She had really uncommon opinions. She would tear down institutions. And she would glorify commercial product as a wonderful thing. She talked about how, she connected with certain trash cinema. And I think we see a lot of that in Tarantino, right? Because while we have his, there's the Godard connection there, but he also loves trash cinema. And he tears down institutions too. Hitchcock, he's not a huge fan of Hitchcock. I think that Pauline Kael was a huge influence on Tarantino. I feel like we need critics because in this day and age, you have YouTube. What I do on this channel is essentially a form of film criticism. If you don't like what I have to say about something, you can change the channel and find somebody that's saying something that's more palatable to your taste in the new media landscape of YouTube and Instagram and social media, all these different places. You just find something that clicks with you. So there's less of that power that we're talking about isn't quite as apparent as it used to be. But you go back when this, writing for the New Yorker, Pauline Kael could really make or break somebody's career based on what she thought about their movie. And there's correspondence here that they have a letter from Gregory Peck where he talks about if he ever meets her, will they be able to have a civil conversation? Well, they'll find out if they ever see each other face to face. Like, it's real hurt feelings. I mean, it's really emotional stuff. But it's amazing, right? So, I don't know. This documentary is a great entry point. So she wrote lots of books in addition to her consistent film reviews. There's a lot of compilations. She wrote books. There's collections of her work. Titles like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Of course, if we know the movie Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, but Pauline Kael was using that long before the movie. And it's a love affair with movies, but it's also being often unsatisfied with what you're seeing. And I don't know, as a North Star, I think Pauline Kael is a pretty good North Star to have because, I talk about this a lot. I'm talking about it more and more because I have reached a point where I'm just really, I find modern movies to be just desolate. Now they're not entirely, but largely I find it to just be kind of desolate. And when I can connect to the 5 or 10 movies each year that I do think have some humanity in them or tell me something about, that make me feel something, I hold on to them like a life raft in the middle of the ocean. And she was the same way. She found so much insipidness in the cinema scene of the 50s and the 60s. They point out in this documentary that she had grown up, she was old enough to have seen silent movies in the theater. So she'd seen the span of movies. And by the time you're getting to something like a 2001 or Blade Runner, which she did not like, It's you have to take what she's saying, whether you agree with it or not. And this is the thing. Yeah, here's an important point. Whether you agree with it or not, she was able to eloquently say what she felt, and people would, if whether they agreed with it or not, they connected with what she was saying. They'd get angry about it, or they'd go, "Oh, that makes sense." Her review for Last Tango in Paris was they just, like, it was so powerful, it connected so well. The people that made the movie, they were like, well, let's just run this as the ad. 2 pages of the her Last Tango in Paris review to promote the movie. Now, that movie's super divisive. A lot of people think it's garbage. Some people think it's high art. It doesn't matter. It's whatever it does for you, because movies are films are art. Art is subjective. We do not have to agree. It's weird to be in this position, on YouTube and where I write on my my website and the reviews that I create. Whether people agree with me or not, they usually are able to understand where I'm coming from. If I don't like something, I can tell you why, because I understand why I don't like it. We're getting further from that, and it kind of gets to where we're in a personal place where if you don't like something, somebody's like, well, screw you. I'll find somebody that I do agree with. Like, you can agree with someone 100% of the time. So I don't know, but then again, she would take it so much further than that, and she would make it personal, and she would really, she would just attack people. She would attack movies. She would attack people, actors, directors. So, we do see a lot of this. I think this was a formative, I think Pauline Kael was a formative influence on Quentin Tarantino, and it's going to be interesting to see how that factors in to the movie The Critic, if that is what it's about. I'm probably going to title this movie Tarantino's Critic, because a lot of fandom's talking about this right now, speculating and just wondering, and we're all thinking about Pauline Kael. And some people don't know who Pauline Kael was, and they should. So check this documentary out if you're curious. What She Said: The Art of Pauline Kael. It's an independently produced documentary, and it's got a lot of substance to it, and a lot of Tarantino in there too. So, Grail Marcus is in the documentary as well. If you're a music fan and you know who Grail Marcus is, huge writer and critic. We need critical voices. We need people to say, this doesn't work for me, and here's why. Let's continue the conversation in the comments below. Guys, subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. And again, continue the conversation in the comments below. Take care. Till next time, I will catch you later.